Fernando Alonso's incredible start to the season saw him propel himself as one of the hottest prospects on the grid in 2023. But that itself doesn't come without its own consequences for the team. Alonso's contract with Aston Martin needs him jobless at the end of the year, and although everything points towards him signing an extension with the Silverstone-based team, that might not be for a very long period of time. The newest addition to the grid, Audi, is likely to pursue Alonso from 2026 onwards, by which time he'll be well into his 45th year of life. So, will we see the two-time world champion race this late in his career? The sensation of 2023 is Alonso and his recent surge of performance with Aston Martin. With a Spaniard not winning a podium on 2 of the 7 circuits driven in 2023, it's safe to say that he has cast a shadow over Lance Stroll's head. As the owner's son, Stroll is unable to match his teammates' pace and performance. However, it's also challenging to understand why Alonso would trade what he has right now, a team that's probably the closest thing he'll have to winning a championship, for a squad that's yet to prove its competitiveness from the start. The newest and hottest topic in Formula One is Alonso being approached by Audi. These talks have been fueled by Aston Martin's statement that they haven't yet discussed extending his contract and is not currently on their mind. While the perfect scenario for the Silverstone-based squad currently seems promising, there could be massive chaos in the ever-growing love of fans towards Alonso, and the lack of performance from Stroll could paradoxically see Alonso out of the team. Let's start with Mike Crack's statement on Alonso's contract as the team principal. He was full of praise for the value and efficiency that Alonso brings to his team, but was reluctant to say whether or not the two-time world champion will continue the collaboration with the squad. Even after Alonso was very close to securing his 33rd win in Monaco, being only 1/10 of a second behind the pole position, the call for wet tyres ruined his race at the end. It's uncertain if Crack believes in Alonso's long-term commitment, sparking more debate about his future. When discussing this matter, the Aston Martin team principal said, "It's very difficult to say because it's such a relative competition. You depend on the pace of others and on yourself, so I think it would be risky to say that we will win one in particular or that we will be close to winning." However, when pointed out that Alonso wants to continue the collaboration with Aston Martin beyond 2026, when Honda will return as their engine supplier, Crack's response was a bit unusual. He added, "It's good to hear that he has said that he wants to be here for several years, and we would be happy with that. I think the main thing, and this is one of the great qualities, is the desire he has to be at the front and his motivation. We didn't think much about it, to be honest. We took it race by race and tried to do well every race. It's good to hear that, but we don't think too much about it yet. Let's make it happen now." Everyone thought that if there was an issue between Aston Martin and Alonso's future collaboration, it would have been because of Alonso's bad experiences with Honda. We mustn't forget how Honda and McLaren's partnership ended in 2017, when Alonso described Honda's engine as a GP2 engine. However, the bad feelings were put aside from both sides, and Alonso is now willing to work with what Honda currently provides with Red Bull. This might not be the scenario after all, and whenever you see a dissatisfied driver in F1 right now, it's natural to relate it to Audi. After all, Audi enters the sport in 2026 and is looking for drivers to be competitive straight away, something that Aston Martin managed to do with Alonso once they figured out the design and philosophy of their car. Therefore, for the first years in the sport, Alonso would be the perfect signing if the two-time world champion isn't already committed to Aston Martin or isn't focused on retirement. Knowing his qualities as a driver and how competitive he can be with the right car, I doubt that Alonso would consider retirement at the age of 45. Not many teams would be willing to invest in Alonso at this age, but for Audi, it's essential to have a driver who can provide proper feedback on the car and set the right foundation for the team's future. This could see young drivers like Mick Schumacher further taking the team back to its glory days. So what does Audi have to say about this whole thing? Obviously, the team is more than interested in Alonso's services, and this has been publicly expressed by them in recent days. When talking about this matter, Alessandro Lunibravi, the representative of Alfa Romeo, expressed keen interest in recruiting the two-time world champion from 2026 onwards. Signs were also mentioned among Audi circles. Furthermore, Looney Bravi said, "I would always sign Fernando, even at 45 years or more. I got to know him well at McLaren when I was the manager of Stoffel van Dorn, who was his teammate. I saw firsthand the work he can do on a day-to-day basis as a driver, his ability, his great determination. He's a champion. You don't win 2 F1 titles if you don't have certain characteristics. It's a pleasure for me to see him at Audi. We're satisfied with our current driver pairing, and our aim is to give them competitive material. Obviously, I think Sainz is one of the best drivers currently in F1. He drives for Ferrari, and I think he's happy there. We have to think about our drivers and give them all the tools to do a good job." Another thing we mustn't forget is the fact that Alonso was part of McLaren and collaborated with Andreas Seidl. Although it was a notorious time for the Spaniard, he maintains a good relationship with Seidl, who is now the CEO of the team. McLaren also lost James Key to Audi. With the old crew gathering in the newest addition to the sport, we could very well see Alonso embark on a new adventure, one that might be more controversial and full of challenges compared to Aston Martin. Everyone laughed at Alonso when he made the sudden switch from Alpine to Aston Martin, but when the 2023 season started, we saw the immediate impact that the Silverstone-based squad had on the current grid and how well Alonso fit in with them. However, it was a bit strange to see him behave so well towards Lance Stroll, even though the motive is clearly to secure his seat in Aston Martin for at least a couple more years until a new opportunity opens up, one that might be more competitive than Aston Martin to win the championship with. Alonso has been in the sport for quite some time, and he's one of the few drivers who was able to come back from retirement and still achieve success. With all of his recent statements, it's evident that Alonso won't give up on the quest for the 3rd championship. While others might be willing to give up at this point, he refuses to accept that enough is enough. When talking about his future in Formula One, Alonso echoed the belief of everyone else, saying, "I don't know how long I will go on. I will never retire from motorsport, but from Formula One, I will retire when it stops making me happy. At the moment, it's the opposite." Audi is now on a massive mission, seeking experts from all around the Formula One field. While they failed to pursue Mattia Binotto after showing him their factory in Newburgh, the quest for experts continues. This isn't just limited to those working behind the scenes in the garages, but also includes the driver lineup. From what we've been able to understand, Audi doesn't want to deal with rookies or newcomers due to the intense competition. They would rather sign a 45-year-old driver than invest in a rookie who would struggle to bring the team to where they projected themselves in the first couple of years and fight for a championship. Will Alonso embark on this journey later in his career? Only time will tell.